Welcome to another edition of Entrepreneurs in Fuego. I am incredibly proud today to have Dee Dee Blaze.
Thank you.
Dee Dee, you're my hero, man. You really are. You're a very powerful woman, and I admire everything that you do.
Thank you.
Tell us what you do.
I follow my heart, my intuition. I try to see what a good cause to pursue is. I pick my battles now that I'm getting older.
Older, yes.
So, and you can't go wrong by defending children, widows, mothers of children. You can't go wrong. The arc of justice will always bend in favor of women and children, widows.
So you're an activist, and you are for the community, particularly for the Chicano community. And
Correct.
That's what you do. You're an advocate for the Chicano community.
Absolutely, and the immigrants. The Chicano community sort of lost our way when we were knee deep in immigration issues because, let's face it, they're our brothers, our sisters, and our cousins. Even if you're born here on this side of the border, they're still familia. They look like us, everything. So, and it's not just south of the border. We're talking Central Americans,
Right.
Immigrants. And so we lost our power, the Chicano power. And, there was a lot of power in the Chicano movement in the 60s and the 70s. And through this journey, I realized that, what made us powerful then? And a lot of politicians think that people of people of color
Sure.
are all just immigrants. And we're here to say, no, we're not. We're voters. We were born here. We're just like you.
Have you always been this active in the community, or did you do something before you became an activist and an advocate for more than an activist, more like an advocate of the community, because you are a voice for the community?
Well,
did you do something else prior?
yeah, I joined the military because of an image that I saw of Saddam Hussein gassing the Kurds, and I saw on the cover, I don't know if it was Time magazine or what, but it was a dead and bloated woman holding an infant child, and that right there, that warrior spirit just explodes, and you want to do something better that's greater than yourself.
Right, and which branch of the military?
Air Force.
The Air Force. And how long were you in the Air Force?
4 years.
4 years? And then after the 4 years, you decided to do what?
Well, I went to school. I continued my education. I became a business owner of 2 coffee shops as well as retail cellular, And I do really good in business.
Yeah.
Really good. Once you put your mind to that, you can make a lot of money because the sky's the limit. You can work endless hours.
Well, that's one thing about you, that you're determined, right? You have that mentality and that laser focus that it's really necessary when you are advocating for somebody else. And at that time, I would imagine maybe the analogy is that you're advocating for yourself as a business owner, yes?
Well, yes, but in business, for instance, with the coffee shop that I owned and I sold, I used that as a venue for all cultures to come in and have an Irish band, a Mexican salsa dance, Jamaican nights or whatever. And I wanted to create this melting pot and this togetherness. And that's when I began hardcore in the community, raising money, scholarships for women, And so that's...
So you sell your coffee shops, you sell your businesses, and there's something that happened within you that said, I'm going to dedicate myself to doing this particular advocacy? Is that
advocacy?
See, I'm Latin, so you gotta get to me, it's just shit comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, I'm making up words and shit. So what? Advocacy. There you go. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
So is that what happened? There was a moment in your life, a specific time that you remember, you go like, you know what? I'm going to dedicate myself to do this.
It was the immigration issue when I saw how the powerful were picking on those hard workers. And, when God gives you talent, venues, money, to create businesses, you got to use that talent and give back to the community. And that's what I did. And that immigration issue, that hurts your heart.
Your movement And you have a radio network. It's called Chicano Radio Network.
The Chicano Radio Network is owned by Frank Mills Miranda,
Yeah.
and at one point he owned the largest Chicano music catalog in the world. And I wanted to have this Ed Sullivan type of variety show to highlight Chicanos and Latino heroes and anybody who's willing to work with our community.
Right.
So, but you know as well as I do that the Mexican Americans are the largest bulk of the population.
Sure.
So obviously I got to work with that part first and then
Correct.
umbrella.
And do you think that by calling it a Chicano movement or a Chicano radio network, that kind of limits a little bit or excludes, at least from a perception point of view, the rest of us who would want to join that community? Do you think that
it's
that
open.
is a perception thing?
A Chicano is it's a mindset. It's, you know, I've been called an honorary Boricua by my Puerto Rican friends, and I call them my honorary Chicanos. So
Chicanoans.
it's most, you know, obviously, you know, the crux of that name, the title, is a Mexican American.
Right.
And so on my show, I interview Anglos, you know, Venezuelans, Colombians, Puerto Ricans.
Sure, anyway.
You know, so no, we don't limit, but there is power in the Chicano movement, and the whole purpose of going back and visiting that is to get my people to get politically active and wake up because we're asleep.
Well, if we were asleep, which I believe we are kind of awakening now,
Right.
With all this movement to potentially repeal the 14th Amendment, to potentially, if we have Trump, for instance, winning the presidency, and it's possible, right? I mean, he's winning by double digits and all that stuff. And I mean, it's possible. How are we to move against that and to kind of clear up that we're not here for free, that we're not smooshing out of the system? How do we do that?
Well, as a veteran, what we need to do is we need to continue to go after Trump's Achilles heel, and
Which
bottom line is he's a draft dodger, you know, and that's where I play the veteran card to the hilt, and you know, we need to scream at the top of our lungs that, you know, I just interviewed a woman, the daughter of Dr. Hector P. Garcia,
Sure.
a Mexican immigrant who was working on citizenship here in the United States. They drafted him. The government drafted him as an immigrant. He's not even a citizen yet. There are veterans that have been deported that have been drafted in American wars, and if anybody earned their citizenship, it's them. He eventually got his citizenship, but the bottom line is we need to scream at the top of our lungs that we're more American, that we've spilled more blood per capita, especially in Vietnam. And that's when the Chicano movement was critical. We came in, we rose to the occasion. It's time for us to rise again.
Do you think that the Chicano movement is more of a West Coast movement?
Southwest.
Or Southwest movement? Or how can we integrate, again, Chicago, Miami, New York? How can we integrate all those Latinos, all those immigrants that exist in those states? How can we integrate them under one umbrella? And I think that's why the reason, I mean, the perception of just calling ourselves a Chicano movement might limit some of us. And I don't want to get too political about the definition of what Chicano is, but I think that from a Latino perspective, making nearly 30% of the population and clearly by about maybe it's about 15, 20 years will be the largest minority here in the United States. How do we
get them on board?
Get them on board and get that sense of unity.
Well, the thing of it is we got to understand that there's not going to be a 100% unity all of the time. And a case in point is Ted Cruz. And the reason why I believe in the Chicano movement and the power is because we are the almost 70% of the entire Latin population pie. And when we have cabrones like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio has flip-flopped on immigration, and Ted Cruz, who is just completely against immigration, you know what? It's time for the dog to wag the tail now, because they are hijacking the entire Latin, the Venezuelans, the Colombians, everybody, because they get a form of Cuban amnesty, while all the other Latin countries,
Right.
and so the Chicanos, we're stepping up to the plate because we recognize our strength in numbers. And hey, if you're behind us for immigration, get on board, you're a Chicano. So, you know, we have to school the media that Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are not our voice. And that's where that power is going to come in.
The other day, I heard on CNN, it was maybe a week or two ago, this lady talking about maybe a second generation or third generation Latina, talking about how she represented, and she was well-to-do. I mean, she looked very, very wealthy. She's from a great family and whatnot. And she was talking how she agrees with Trump and how she represents the Latin movement, the Latin people. And I'm looking at the team, I'm looking, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, are you on drugs? Come on, really? Come on, man. And she's got her, you know, her Cartier, you know, $50,000 ring.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense at all. So the image that we have right now, unfortunately, is one that, oh, these guys are drug dealers, they're crossing the border, they're killing our people, they're taking our jobs. Taking our jobs, my ass.
Yeah.
Who else is going to pick the lettuce over in Yuma and all that stuff? Huh?
Well, the other Achilles heel for Trump is, and he's a very, very smart man. He knows what he's doing. He has the anti-immigrant organizations, Numbers USA, all of the John Tanton networks. They have an agenda. And he's got that. And just for instance, Numbers USA, an organization that is very anti-immigrant, they have 600,000 due-paying members. So I think a lot of the polling is skewed because all these organizations have to do is give out an order, go to this poll and vote for Trump. So we're talking, they're very highly organized, 600,000. So.
But you know how it is. You know, perception sometimes is what moves the world. Reality means nothing sometimes. It's just that perception, and we're being fed on a daily basis. You know, the Trump show, the Ted Cruz show, the Marco Rubio show, anti-immigration, and I'm waiting. Who's our voice? Where is somebody coming out in defense for our rights?
Well, you, me, I think it's everybody. I don't think it should just be one person because corruption, that leads to corruption. I think it needs to be more of a grassroots, several leaders, sort of like a cobweb, you know, different focal points, and we just all do our parts like little ants, you know, in a colony. I don't think we should look to one voice.
What else can we do?
What we need to do, Francisco, is we need to go after these Republican business owners and remind them that if it weren't for the immigrants, their businesses would be bankrupt. Our national economy would be bankrupt.
Sure.
And we need to go after the business sector because that's what Trump is going to pitch his platform on. And what he's doing is anti-economic, pro-growth views. Do you follow me? I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you do for
fun? Hike. I love the beach. So.
Oh, you mean the beach here in Arizona?
Yeah,
right
yeah. You know, when the big one happens, you know, we're gonna have that frontside beach.
I hope we do, man.
I love the beach. I love going to San Diego. I do. I do.
Awesome. I mean, you are an incredible advocate for Latin rights, for Chicano rights. And where do you think that movement is going to go? Where do you see us, say, in the next 3-5 years? What do you think is going to happen? Will something change now in 2016 with the elections? Do you think that the election, whoever wins, it doesn't matter, Democrat, do you think that that's going to affect us specifically, or do you think is more of being a demagogue right now and is all the talk just to get yourself elected that is fueling this anti-immigration movement?
I think
something's going to change. What do you think? What do you see as?
I think it's more that, but I don't want to risk our political future on a Republican candidate, and I'll tell you why. I used to be a long life Republican. I was in the military. A lot of people who serve in the military are conservative. I left the party for good and am an independent. But one thing I'll tell you that we cannot risk, and the reason why we have to fight really hard and revive the Chicano movement, is because the Republican National Committee adopted an anti-immigrant platform in 2012.
Yeah.
The same person that created SB 1070, the Papers, Please law, is the same person that architected that for the Republican platform. We cannot risk it.
Right. So if we have a call for action button here, bam, what would it be? What do you want us to do? What is the message that our viewers, our listeners are going to take today?
Okay. The whole crux in our power will come from voting.
Who are we going to vote for?
We need to vote for the most pro-immigrant candidate.
Not a Republican.
Not a Republican right now because of their platform, but there are a few independents. I voted for the first time for Obama in 2012, and based on immigration. So immigration needs to be our litmus test. But there, Francisco, we don't have enough people. I travel the Southwest. Yeah. Do get out the vote booths at college campuses and things of that nature. There needs to be more of that. I don't care if it's at a church, concerts. Be creative. I'm hating the lowrider community.
You're too much, man. You are too much the lowrider community.
It's true.
Just because you said the word lowrider was the key word
goodness.
today. Look, man, we're going to give you a beautiful office pile
nice.
T-shirt.
Thank
and I hope
you
like it. It goes with your hair and with the color of your eyes.
Thank you very much.
We love you, man. And please promise me you're going to come back again and again and again, because this is a movement that it doesn't have an end, right? I mean, it's not because we make little strides that it ends. It's something that at some point, when we achieve equality, when we achieve all the rights that we are fighting for, then perhaps we can relax. But that's a long ways from now.
I know there are some older Chicanos maybe got a little tired, but I'm interviewing people all over the Southwest, and that Chicano, I see a reinvigoration of that, that
nice.
fire of the Chicano movement.
And you got that fire with us, Dee Dee Blaze.
Thanks.
You're going to come back and see us.
Yes, absolutely.
I love you, man. We're out.
Welcome to the remix. Prestige.